So hello everyone, my name is Mariola Kozuszek and I am nail educator from Luton. I'm running my business from 5 years already and I want to tell you a little bit more how is it to be nail technicians on the beginning, how to actually run the business. So I will be running few podcasts and today I will be doing the podcast with my first guest, which is the accounting. Hi, good morning. So today I'm running my podcast and my first guest will be Jakub. And he's accountant and he studied accountancy in Poland. And then he finished his study in the University of Bedfordshire and he's running his own company. So can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Well, thank you very much for having me. My name is Jakub Lowiniecki, and as you said, I graduated from University of Bedfordshire. Then afterwards, I've done my professional studies, ACCA, and currently I'm a fellow charter certified accountant, and I'm a partner in Acumen Plus.
So how long are you already accountant?
Well, that will be now 12 years, since 2010, so that would be, actually that's 15 years. Yeah. Time flies.
That's a lot. And actually, I heard that you also working a little bit with the university as well, yes?
Yes, I am a part-time lecturer at University of Bedfordshire. I started in September 2016, so that's been going on for a while. However, I haven't been active for the last sort of year and a half. Oh, yeah.
That's nice. So today we are here because we just want to talk about the accountancy for the beauty business, especially for the nail technicians, because I'm a nail educator based in Luton and I am teaching girls how to do the nails. So usually on the beginning, they are asking me some questions about like how to start the business, how it is with the accountancy in the UK, maybe if they should some business account, some personal account. And there is a lot of questions which I want to ask you today. So my first question will be like, what are the basic legal requirements for nail technicians in the United Kingdom?
Okay. With regards to legal requirements, I wouldn't say that obviously they would depend on sort of what you're doing where you are, but I can certainly tell you about the taxation part of it and registration, because obviously you need to bear in mind that a beauty technician is also a profession, which means that very soon you'll have to register with HMRC, either as self-employed or with your limited company, and because you need to, by the end of the day, declare your income and possibly pay tax on that. So yes, that's
okay.
That's probably the
so
most
I found out that like in the UK there is a lot of girls who are basically working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, some girl, she's starting working from home, so she has to register somewhere. What she have to do to work from home?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the registration doesn't have to be straight away. What you'll notice is that you do not have to actually take any action until your turnover, i.e. the money that you receive, will not cross £1,000. So this is sort of a small earnings exemption. So until you actually cross £1,000 within the first year, you do not have to register. So basically, this is an exemption. So if you would just, let's say one of the girls would start and after a while, she would decide, actually, that's not something for me. She only made £500. At this point, she doesn't even have to register with HMRC or declare tax or nothing.
Okay.
However, obviously, if everything goes well and she's crossing the £1,000 and she's thinking, okay, I need to, that is something I want to do, then obviously she needs to start thinking about registration with HMRC.
So let's say she can work even a year without registration. Like for example, she will make £800. So she doesn't have to do anything.
No, if that's all she made, and I'm talking about the turnover, not the profit figure.
Okay.
Okay. I.e., this is if she only made £800, then she doesn't have to do absolutely anything.
Okay, that's very nice. So below 1,000, we don't have to do anything. So
Correct.
let's say if I will make like 1,100 pound.
Okay, then you're already crossing the threshold. That means you'll have to register with HMRC and make a self-assessment.
Okay, and so how long time I have? Is it like, let's say I started my work today, and after 3 months I already made 1,500 pound, and how long time I have like to go backward to open my business? Because I heard about something like that, like you can go backward, like, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. How is it? How is it working?
It's actually how it works is you have 6 months after the year end of the year that you started. So giving an example, we are currently in September 2020. Well, actually today is 1st of October.
Oh yeah.
So we're in October 2024. So we are in tax year 2024-25. So you'll have if you would start today, you would have 6 months after the 5th of April 2025, which means you'll have until 5th of October 2025 to register with HMRC for self-assessment.
Okay, so let's say I can register in September 2025 for the business which I started in October 2024.
Correct.
Okay, that's perfect. That's very helpful, because this is the usually questions, like the girls are starting and they are not sure if they're gonna do that later or no.
What I would suggest is that obviously if you're already crossing 1,000 pounds of turnover, then I would say don't wait for the last moment, because it's not a good thing. Because what might happen is that if you don't register and you continue, then obviously you might find that it would be useful to register for many purposes. Like, for example, that you need to, for example, give somebody an invoice and they would like to ask you for your UTR. And if you don't register and you don't have a UTR, then you don't, then you cannot, do anything with that.
Yes.
Obviously, council might ask as well, or proof of registration sometimes with.
So
depending on the situation.
Actually, in this point, I have one more question. So let's say I'm just opening my business and then I want to collect my bills. So I was paying for some stuff to doing the nails or some beauty. And then I have to have these recipes on my name or on my business name.
Right. The receipts, if you come to think of it, if you start as a self-employed, then your business is actually you. It's not something separate from yourself. So your bills will be on your name, and that will be absolutely fine. Okay. The only time when your receipts should be on, or actually invoices should be on a different name, is if you are running a limited company. Because it has a legal entity of its own, and then the invoices should be actually billed to the LTD.
So if I have limited company and if I will buy something and there will be no name, can I use it to my expenses or no?
Well, if you're just paying and you've got the simple receipts, then they're fine, no problem. Obviously, it's better if they're paid from the business bank account. This is how it should be. But if you're then purchasing something expensive, pieces of machinery or equipment that you will require an invoice, and that at that time the invoice should be actually made to the limited company.
Okay, that's very clear. So my next question is about grants and financial support. Do you think there is anything for the nail technicians or the beauty therapist which can be given or helping to us to grow the business?
At this moment, there isn't much grants altogether. But obviously, since it's a profession like any other, when for example we had COVID, then grants that were all given to self-employed through self-employed income support schemes, those were the beauty technicians were actually eligible for those as well. So it depends. When the government will give grants, I'm sure they will be eligible for for those if they fulfill certain requirements. But at this moment, since we are out of COVID, there's not much really direct help. And probably the only thing that people tend to do, especially if they're doing it as a side business, then probably they're going for universal credit or something like this. And yeah, but this is something that
And what do you think about this startup loan? Is it okay for the small business to think about that? Because I heard about this one. You can take, I think, up to
25,000.
What do you think about that?
It's good if you've got an idea. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not good if you're just gonna take it and not do anything, because by the end of the day, remember, it's a loan, which means you'll have to pay it back. Okay, it's given to new businesses that were trading up to 2 years. It's most of the time on a better rate, so it's a cheaper loan. And but the thing is that to get it, you also have to do an application, provide a business plan, show basically your cash flow. What are you expecting the future to bring? You know, how are you going to spend the money? So you'll have to have all those things in mind already when you're applying for it.
Okay.
But if you want, and obviously you need equipment, this, that, then by all means, that's something that might be very helpful for
And
you.
even if something working from home, do you think they can apply for that kind of?
Of course,
startup
if they're starting and they have a good business plan, then yes. This is something that obviously an underwriter or whoever is actually dealing with that, they will decide, okay, that is actually something that we can help with or not.
Okay.
So, but from my experience, you always get somebody that helps you out, that is in direct contact with you, and they will
help
basically
you to get it.
help, well, as much as they can. So they will. So for example, if you submit something, a business plan or anything, if they need clarification, they think, oh, this need clarification, or this might need clarification, or some actual evidence or something else, they will call you and say, look, I need those evidence, or can you provide a quote, or how much this costs, so that your application actually, makes it to the lender.
Okay, that's nice. And because you're an accountant, and we can have like a beauty therapist, nail technicians, we can have a lot of questions. Do you think like being a nail technician, is it good to have an accountant? What is the advantage to having you?
Well, from my point of view, it's always good to have an accountant, because you can, first of all, you can ask questions. Yeah, as a beginner in the business, you might not know where to go, how to register, when to submit your tax return, or things like...
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, so accountant is there to help you register, to prepare your tax return, to see whether your expenses that you're providing, whether they're allowable or disallowable, because I've seen everything. There were clients that, gave me receipts for like washing machine. I'm thinking, but this is what I'm saying. They have no idea that, for this particular business, you're not allowed to buy a washing machine, for example. So that's, and then obviously accountant will help you submit this to tax return, provide you information how to pay the tax, if there's any tax, and obviously keep you informed, i.e. will remind you, listen, the tax year has finished. It's 5th of April. We have until 31st of January to submit it. So please bring your documents.
So I don't have to think about
Most of the time, no.
Okay. That's perfect. So can you tell me how it is like, actually we said before about giving the invoice to the client. So if I'm nail technicians, do I have to keep the record of my clients? Like they are coming to me and I'm doing the nails, or I'm doing some beauty treatments. Do I have to give them some receipt or something? How is it working? How it should be done?
Yes, you always have to keep records. That's sort of very, very important. There's even a penalty for that. If you don't keep adequate records, there's £3,000 worth of penalty for each year that you haven't kept your records. Okay, and sales is obviously one of them. So if you provide sales, you need sales records. And so I understand that this is a small business, so I wouldn't tell you to get a register, because it's something that you wouldn't need for this sort of business. But a simple invoice book that you can get from a £1 shop or on Wilco will be sufficient. And then you just write a receipt, and there's and
I just
copy.
give it to my client.
Exactly. And you tear off, give it to the client, and then you get, and then you retain the copy.
Okay.
In the invoice book.
How long I should keep the record of that?
Oh, the loss is 5 years, but this is 5 years after the deadline of submission. So, for example, for year 2024-25, which we are in, you need to remember the deadline for submission will be 31st January 2026. So 5 years from that moment. So that would be until 31st of January 2031.
Oh my God.
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, that's quite a while. And also, like, do you think is it important also like to keep, and what, because we said about giving the recipes for our client, and what about keeping the record of like some recipes, like I bought something for my business?
Same thing. Remember, yes, all the receipts, everything that has been used to prepare your tax return, everything needs to be kept for the same amount of time, 5 years after the deadline of submission.
And I have to have the printed copy, or I can take the pictures and just keep it somewhere?
Digital copies will be accepted as well, so no problem.
Okay.
And from my experience, yes, take a picture, because what will happen, some of them will blank out.
Yes.
And when it comes to it, you're just going to stare at a blank piece of paper.
Yeah, exactly. It happens sometimes to me like that. So what do you think? So if I'm running the business, is it better to have just one account, like bank account? Or it's okay to have like business account and personal account? What do you think what should be done?
From legal point of view, there is no legal requirement that tells you that you have to have a separate bank account if you're running under self-assessment. However, it might be easier to have a separate business bank account, because obviously it's easier for you later on to keep a record of, okay, this is how much I received money, this is how much I paid, and then this is a way
it's easier to count it.
Exactly, and for you to keep a track of whether you're actually making money. Okay, because from my experience, a lot of people have no idea how, where they are, whether they made money. Okay, they feel they made money, but they cannot quantify how much, whether it's £1,000 or £10,000. They have no idea.
Yes.
So that would possibly help. And the other thing is that banks are sometimes being funny. If you run a business from your personal bank account, they might try to say, look, that's not what it's for. But we've got a business bank account option, and they might actually, ask you to open this one.
Okay, and then if I have business account and a personal account, do I have to do like two separate like tax returns or something?
No. It's all done in one. When you do your tax returns, it's gonna be based on the documents, so sales invoices and expenses mostly. Then plus, obviously, we would go through the business bank account, reconcile it, just to see whether it's actually, because there might be some expenses that you paid and you haven't got receipt for it.
Yes.
So, and then once we check that, we would ask, oh, look, this is something that, and then you would probably go back either to the supplier, because you could go and say, look, I lost my receipt, or I didn't get my receipt, and get a copy from the supplier. In this way.
And if I don't have a receipt, I cannot use it then?
It's not advisable.
Okay.
Not advisable.
Okay. And do you think like, is there any more like documents which we should keep like for the proper like bookkeeping? Is there any more like we should have?
As long as you're keeping everything that you need, so your sales records, your expenses, then this is basically what
and then I'm going to you, and you are doing the rest of it for me.
That's correct.
Okay. So what is it about the national insurance contributions? How much we should pay? Is there is like some, let's say if I'm doing like 1,000 per year or 10,000, is it any difference if I have to pay more? How we count this one?
National insurance is just been sort of reformed last year. So it changed a little bit. Up to last year, for self-employed, because I'm gonna focus on self-employed because this is the most usual way of actually running a beauty business. Yes. So for self-employed, they're subject to class 2 and class 4 national insurance. So 2 classes of national insurance. However, class 2 has been sort of, I wouldn't say eliminated, but you're not really paying it. Up to sort of the previous year, you would actually pay a fixed amount, which would be £3.45 per week.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be fixed, and you would be paying it from on your regardless of your earnings, if you cross 6,750, or voluntarily if you didn't cross it. Yes, that would be one national insurance. Okay. Now what they changed with this one is that they removed the obligation of paying it. So now all you're left with is the possibility. So it's there for you to pay national insurance class 2 if you want to pay it, if your earnings are below 6,750 and you want this year to be classed as pensionable towards your pension.
So if I don't pay it, then this year is not classified like the pension
Yes,
year.
if you earned, let's say, if your profits is only £5,000, if you don't pay it, this year is not pensionable. It's not going to be classed as pensionable, so you will not gain one extra year towards your pension. We're talking about statutory pension, obviously. But if you decide, okay, I want to pay it, then this year will class as pensionable to your pension. Yeah? However, if you earn if your profits is over 6,750, you don't have to pay it, and it's still classed as pensionable toward your pension.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because you said there is like class 2,
the second
class
one,
4, yeah.
class 4.
Yeah.
Yes, class 4 used to be 9%. Now it's dropped down to 6%, and it's on all your earnings over. And now the threshold is 12,570, which is the same like personal allowance for tax purposes. So if you earned £10,000, you wouldn't possibly pay national insurance, if you know what I mean. Okay. But if you earned £15,000, then obviously £15,000 minus 12,750 will give you 2,250, and then you would pay 6% on that.
Okay, on the top of this.
On that
okay.
bit. Yes.
Okay. So actually, it's not too much.
No. It's national insurance is the least of your worry, because if you earn £15,000, then obviously you also will pay 20% of income tax on top of that, on the 2,250. Yeah. And if you had another job or other earnings, then obviously your tax is gonna go up. So national insurance is not the killer.
Okay. So what is it about? Like if I'm working, doesn't matter from home or from salon, and I didn't do anything about that. Like I haven't registered anywhere, and I'm working, let's say, 2 years already, and I'm making 1,000 per month, for example. So what may happen?
Okay.
Like, I mean, like...
I understand. So basically you forgot to register or something. Okay. Then obviously there would be, if HMRC finds out, then obviously there's penalties for not letting HMRC know. That's one penalty. Then you would obviously have to pay all the tax, national insurance on those earnings. Okay. Yeah. And then there would be a penalty of not basically missing this tax, which could be double of what you've already paid or what you're taxed on. So whatever you paid tax, they might actually double it as a means of penalty. Okay. And on top of that, if they decide that, it's a deliberate thing and you've done it on purpose and stuff like that, they might actually prosecute you as well.
Okay. So I can
take
go
you to court. Yes. That is the ultimate thing. So what I would say, if for some reason you completely forgot and then you woke up one day 2 years later, just basically go and register as soon as possible.
Okay.
Backdate registration. I know you're already late. They can fine you for registering late, but that's not a problem because at least they will not fine. It will be 100 times worse if they find out first.
Yeah.
And if you just remembered and then you backdated registration and everything, then it's much better. They might not even fine you. They might just ask you for the tax,
Okay.
and they might ask you for interest on the tax as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there might not be in an ideal situation. They might not even fine you.
Okay. So it's better to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time it's so much easier, so much better, and you sleep, like a child.
Yeah. So what kind of expenses I can deduct like a business costs?
Mm-hmm. For beauty business.
Yeah. What's yeah.
So obviously the biggest probably cost is your material.
Mm-hmm.
So fake mails and stuff like this. I'm sorry, not something that I know much, but obviously there's
like
a lot
some
of
stock.
things.
Mm-hmm.
All your stock basically. That's one of them. The other things are, well, it depends now. If you've got an office, then
Rent a room or a salon.
Exactly. Then you've got rent. Then you might have a light and heat and stuff like that. If you do it from home, you've got a place for that in your home.
Mm-hmm.
Then a reasonable proportion of some of your costs, not all of them, but some of your costs. Okay, so like for example, a light and heat. And for example, a little bit of your council tax, a little bit of rent or interest on your mortgage, but obviously it needs to be reasonable. You have to have a basis.
So what do you think? Like, for example, I'm renting 3-bedroom house, or I have my own 3-bedroom house, and one of the room is it's made for my work. So how many percentage, like from the bills, I could roughly take?
See, you would actually look at either probably square footage of, what piece of the house, is taken for the business. So if the square footage for footage for this particular room, is A, and then square footage for the whole house is B, then obviously that is for me a reasonable proportion.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. So what is it about? Like, I'm going for the course, and I travel abroad, and I booked the ticket plane, and I also paid for the hotel, and I have to eat there as well. So is it like anything from this cost I can use it like my business expenses?
Oh, that's a hot topic. But in general terms, training is an allowable expense. Okay, the training that helps you, develop the business and everything. Not the training to do something else. Because if you're a beauty technician, if you train within this field, that makes you do things better or offer extra service within the same business, then it's all allowable. So those associated costs should be allowable on that basis. Yeah, but obviously we need to have a look. It needs to be reasonable, and it will differ from case to case. So you would like if you would go for a one day course and you would go for a week of holiday, week of hotel, week of that, I would say no, that is crazy. But you have to be reasonable with that.
Okay, so even I can take the food as well from that?
Subsistence on your travel depends. I would say that, like, again, reasonable.
Okay.
Yes, you have to be reasonable in your situation. So I would say that some of it definitely, but related to this particular course.
Okay. So what about the single mothers? Because there is a lot of girls who are like single mothers and they want to just make the life better, like take some more money home, and they are getting some support from the council as well. And if they are okay to do some beauty business as well, like for example, they are receiving like some universal credit. How does it like work with doing the business, like some beauty therapist? If they should know something.
Okay, just to let you know, accountants are not usually experts on the tax credits. That's not what we advise. We advise on tax and the business side of the business, not on the tax credits. But just from general understanding, the tax credits or universal credits are there to help people on low earnings. So I would think that this will still be the case in here. So they would run their own business, and then obviously they would have to report it to the council or to HMRC, depending on what they're taking, and then they would tell them what their options are. So I'm sure there's still and obviously it depends on how much you earn. If your business is doing great, they might tell you, well, your business is doing great, so now you can afford all those things, then obviously we can't help you with anymore. Yeah. But obviously if it's a very small side business, then it's up to them really what to do with you.
Okay. So that's good to know as well. And so because we have a self-employed and a limited company, so you said before you would recommend mostly self-employed for the beauty therapist?
For startups, it's one of the better ones because it doesn't burden too much costs.
Okay. So what is different? Tell me.
The difference is, for example, that running an LTD requires you to register LTD nearly now, straight away.
So you cannot go back?
No, with LTD, you cannot go back. With self-employment, you can go back. As we discussed, there's a lot of time to actually do that. Like, even now that you would have basically a full year to register.
Yes.
For LTD, no, you have to first have the LTD company, open a separate bank account for it, and then you can start your business.
So I have to have separate a bank account?
Yes, because an LTD company is an entity of its own, so it will require its own bank account. Yes, it's not a legal requirement. However, it helps because otherwise, where are you putting all this cash? that you're receiving. But yes, this is the first difference. Secondly, running an LTD is more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of mostly accountancy fees.
Okay.
And that's sort of the thing that you'll have to look at. But there might be other things, like if you'll take insurance, taking it on an LTD might be a little bit more expensive as well. That's why I'm saying for a startup business, especially for those run, from home, then those things might be better for self-assessment. Now, if you're already thinking about, okay, I'm going in, I'm gonna rent my own premises, I'm gonna do full out on everything, then this is something that you might consider, starting as a LTD company, because it might actually, depending on the scale, then it might actually be beneficial too.
So when you're planning to having like bigger business, then it's better to have LTD.
That's for sure, yes.
And if you want to be just this person who will be just you in the business, then it's better to be self-employed. And if actually
in general terms, yes.
Yeah. So if I want to open the salon, then it's better LTD. Yes.
Not always. It depends. What I would suggest is before you do that, go speak to an accountant. Okay. Because accountant will tell you, will ask the questions, okay, and we'll see whether that's the best. Yeah, in this case. Yes, because remember, no two cases are identical. Okay. There's always things to consider. Okay, so it might be that for you it might work out better for you to go for LTD, but for your friend it might not. Okay.
And if I am self-employed, can I employ someone or no?
You can, but remember you'll have to register for PAYE. Okay. Yeah, because if you want to employ them, you need to pay them wages and obviously obey the rules. So then you'll have to think about other things like holiday pay, sick pays, and stuff like that.
Okay. So we talked before about some deductions for the expenses. So what do you think, like if I will be working from home, can I also use some deductions like the Wi-Fi, and can I use my personal phone to that deduction as well? What do you think?
So again, we're going back to the reasonability. Okay, you can, but it needs to be on a proportional basis. And again, because it's a cost associated, like for example, your Wi-Fi. If you need it for the business, you can take a reasonable proportion. So again, I would go back to our square footage. Yeah, if that's your office, that's against the homes. If the percentage is this much, then obviously I would take this much percentage. For your phone, it might be slightly different because obviously you might use it this much for business and this one for private. So the proportion for your phone might be different. There's also HMRC gives a fixed allowances if you don't want to go through all this calculation, because remember, if we're gonna go for the reasonability and calculation, we need to keep the records, i.e. your utility bills, your mortgage statements, for example, or your rental income, so just to show what are we proportioning. We need to keep all of that. So again,
I have to keep this for
6 years, 5 years from 31st of January, exactly. But if you don't want to go through that, there is a fixed amount that HMRC gives you as an allowance. It's not much. It's only £6 a week for use of home as your office. But then you don't have to keep anything. This is something that you can claim instead of your expenses, and you don't have to keep any records.
Okay, I didn't know about that as well.
You're allowed because that's your allowance.
So if I'm working from home and it's my own house, do I have to say this somewhere? Like, I don't know, some institutions? Do I have to say like I'm working from home and I'm using my home like to do some work there? Like,
you wouldn't have to report it to HMRC, for example, but there's other things to consider, like for example, maybe have a look at your tenancy agreement, whether especially if you're renting, have a look if you're allowed to run the business from there, because sometimes your landlord wouldn't allow you. It's some time ago, up to I think 2 years ago, you would nearly always have a clause saying that don't run your any business from a residential property, because when the landlord sells the property, they would not be able to use the full lettings relief for capital gains tax purposes. But now the lettings relief has been so much changed that it's nearly unusable. So that is probably gone. It doesn't matter anymore. But I would check just in case, because you do not want to upset your landlord. Okay. So it's better to talk to them and ask them if it's okay. I would say check your tenancy agreement.
Okay. So if it's not written, then I should be fine.
You should be fine. If it's not in the tenancy agreement, then I would think that this is something that they haven't actually specifically disallow. But if you want to be 100% sure, yes, ask. Especially if you've got a good relation with your tenant, with your landlord. Sorry.
Yes. So what is it about if I am running a business but I'm working in two places? So for example, I'm working in the salon, I'm renting some space, and also I'm having some clients at home. I'm having some small office, and then I'm doing some beauty treatments at home. If I can connect those two businesses, how does it work from your way? Okay.
From a tax point of view,
yes,
those would be treated if both of them are being run as under one self-employment, then there's no problem. They're indifferent. It's all one business for you. So the only difference is that you would claim obviously all expenses on your rented
salon.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, but you will not be able to claim as much for the home because now remember, your home would probably be used much less for those purposes. So then once we, established the square footage proportion, then also you would have to think, okay, I'm only using it for a certain amount of time in a week. Then you would have another proportion, so the use of office would go even lower. Okay. However, you would claim the salon 100% if that is your main business.
So I can just have, let's say, like if I'm self-employed, is there like, do you have to have like few different self-employed if you want to run few different businesses? Like, let's say I want to do beauty and I would like to do something like completely different industry. So do I have to have like different self-employed? How does it work?
I mean,
actually?
you wouldn't make any separate registration or anything. When you do your tax return, you can either merge them together or you keep them separately, just mostly for your own reasons to see whether you're making money. Exactly. But then they all go into one pool to your self-assessment. So, and you're just gonna end up with one profit, overall profit for all your self-employment businesses, and you're gonna be taxed on that. Okay, so so you don't have to keep them super separately. You know what I mean?
And actually, I now just have one more question. So, can I have open in the same time self-employed and LTD company?
Of course you can. There's nothing that would stop you, but obviously you would have to think what are you doing. If you like in your example, if you're doing two different things, then that's great. Okay, because this your self-employment is for one business, your LTD is for something else. Great. That doesn't stop you. But the only thing that you need to remember is that there is only one personal allowance for all your businesses, which means that you're going to pay tax on, it's not going to be like there's a tax-free amount on this business and tax-free amount on that business. No, whatever you'll earn, i.e. wages and dividends from your LTD plus your self-assessment will be your income, and then your tax-free amount is deducted from the total, okay, once.
Okay.
So if your LTD would pay you already more than your personal allowance, the 12,570, you would probably pay basically full
taxes.
Income tax on full self-employment income.
So everything, it comes like together then?
Yes.
Later.
Yes. And so, for example, coming back to your question, what would happen if you would work in salon and at home? But now changing, if in the salon you work as an employee, imagine a situation you work for somebody, okay? I.e. you have a job over there, and at home you're doing self-employment business just for something on the side. Then what you'll have to think again is that you only have one tax-free amount, which means that if you use that for your employment, you earn more than 12,570 in your employment, then whatever profit you make on your self-assessment, self-employment, then you'll pay full tax on that.
Okay, so how much is it full tax?
Well, in England and Wales, it's 20% on the basic rate. Over 50,270, you've got higher rate of 40%, and then you've got additional rate.
So if I will make the minimum wage in the salon, like I would be employed, and then I'm working from home and I'm making 1,000, then I have to pay from this 1,000 20%, like from my tax. So
yes, in your example, if you're employed on a minimum, and which, for argument's sake, let's call it £13,000, so that we know that the personal allowance is gone. And let's say you're making at home £1,000, i.e. you earned £12,000, then you're going to be taxed 20% on the £12,000, and you're going to pay whatever that comes to.
Okay, so that's a lot then later, what you have to pay. So because we are living in the United Kingdom, basically we are living in Great Britain. So how does it comes like with like all of the states what we've got in here, like how is it in the Scotland, Ireland? Is it all the same with the law, with the accountancy? Is it a little bit different? What do you think?
Obviously, there isn't much change. However, Scotland has their own Scottish rates.
Okay.
So here in England and Wales, we've got, like I say, we've got basic rate at 20%, then we've got higher 40%, and then we've got additional rate of 45%. Now in Scotland, they have 6. Yeah, right.
Okay.
So they have a starting rate of 19%, they have intermediate rate of 20%, then they have another 21%, then they have 40, 42, and then the top one, 48%. Okay. So it's obviously the thresholds are different, not like with us that it's up to 50,000, 217, then 125, 140, but they have different thresholds altogether. So altogether, from my experience, Scottish people pay a little bit more tax.
So it's better we are in here.
And it also depends where you fall, because if your first income falls within the 19% band, then it's great, because in UK we don't have in England and Wales we don't have 19% tax band. So if you're on a lower earning, then you're gonna be better off. But if you're gonna be earning more, then obviously they go 20 and then 21%. So so you're gonna possibly end up on a little bit more tax over there.
Okay. So basically, like all of it, what we said. So it's better, like if I'm starting my business, I am nail technician or the beauty therapist. It's better to work as a self-employed.
At the beginning, yes.
At the beginning, yes.
Because at some point,
if I'm small business,
yes. As a startup, yes. Self-employment is a good way to go. But once you grow, see an accountant, and they will be able to advise you whether it's the right time for you to open an LTD or not. Okay, there are other things to consider. Like for example, if you want to employ people, maybe instead of registering yourself for employment, maybe you want to actually open LTD and register the LTD for PAYE, and this way. Okay, or there are other things. If you're gonna be very, very good at what you're doing, remember there's a VAT threshold, which currently stands at £90,000. So if you cross that threshold, so your turnover is more than £90,000, you need to register for VAT.
Okay.
And as self-employment business, I don't like self-employed business being on a VAT. Imagine that's yourself being registered for VAT. So
it's possible. It's still possible.
It is still possible. Okay. It's just not nice, but it's up to the client really what they want. I would suggest at that point you should be long time on LTD, and get the LTD registered for VAT.
So do you offer some advices, like if someone wants to come to you, they can come to your office and you can advise them like what they should do, like if they want to start a business, when they should open their account and what they should deduct from their business? Do you offer that? Yes,
that's what we do. That's our bread and butter. So what I would suggest, if you start a business, speak to an accountant. Go and meet your accountant. I think it's very very good to actually know who is on the other end of your phone.
Face to face.
You know what I mean? At least once, get to see whether that accountant is knowledgeable. See if that person is credible, whether they have certifications, whether they know what they're doing, whether they have experience. Once you're happy, they can advise you. They can guide you. They can tell you, maybe do this. If you do this, then this will be easier, or that will be easier.
And actually, about advising, about talking about the person who is on the other side, I also have a question. So, if I have my accountant, then the person is doing for me the taxes and everything. Do I sign with them some papers, like I'm giving them some permissions or something? They are doing something in behalf of my business. Is it something like that in here?
Yes. I mean, accountant would give you an engagement letter that you would sign with them for this particular engagement. Like, for example, for preparation of your tax return. Okay, so most of the time this is done when you actually bring the paperwork. Yeah, so when you meet your accountant, they will fill up just know your client documents, KYCs, and maybe they will help you to register or keep you in your database, in their database. But then when you actually bring the paperwork, then obviously they will prepare a tax return and you will have to sign the paperwork then. You know, the engagement letter and
so if they will do the tax return and something is wrong with the tax return, and then HMRC or someone government is coming to us like, listen, you did something wrong, this was not counted correctly, then who is responsible for that?
Okay, ultimately, remember, this is very important. You as the owner, ultimately you're responsible for that. So if anything goes wrong, you're in trouble. Yes. Okay. So, and your recourse is that you can sue the accountant if it's their fault, and you can actually put a dispute to their supervisory body. So, for example, as we are registered with ACCA, you would make a complaint on me to ACCA if that would happen.
So this is some bigger company which is on the top of you.
This is the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. And if they deem that I made a mistake, they will kick me out.
Okay. And you cannot be accountant anymore.
I can be a cowboy accountant, somebody without qualification, because in UK you do not actually have to actually hold any qualification to open a accountancy practice. So in fact, if you want, tomorrow you can open an accountancy practice. Okay.
Even if I don't know anything. I don't have to finish any university studies,
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. Meet your accountant. Ask for what qualification they have.
Yes.
See whether they're insured.
Yes.
See, if they have an office. Looks, then this is a good indication that they're there. There is, a place where you can actually go and discuss any problems. So that's very important.
So if any of the girls or guys who watch us today or listen, they liked what you were talking and like your point of view, and they would like to meet you in the office, you are based in few places, yes? Where are you based?
We have our main office in Luton, but we've gotten also an office in Rushden. Those are our main offices.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to come and see us, I'll leave my details with you.
Yes, so it will be posted under the podcast, so they can come to you and they can call you. They can
arrange a meeting and come and see us.
Perfect. So it was very nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
That was a very nice podcast, and I think we did answer most of the questions. What we can have in the daily basis, especially like the girls who are asking me, like they are coming to me and they don't know how to start the business, how to do this with the proper way, because this is the questions actually which were coming up on the beginning. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well.
And thank you for watching us and listening us. And thank you.